Hi, welcome back. Glad you could join me today. I found myself taking a bit more of a casual approach today. It's nice to sit on the floor sometimes and just chill. What I want to discuss today, chat about today, a discussion, it's just me and you watching. Let me give an example. Let's say there's somebody who holds themselves to a set of values. For them, they don't lie. They try not to lie. They feel they're quite honest. They like to be truthful. Yet, something's occurred and they found themselves lying. How does that sit with that person? What feelings come about for that individual? Let's say, another example, somebody has a friend and that friend sometimes says mean comments to them, treats them less than they know they deserve to be treated, lets them down, maybe doesn't respond to texts, turns up late and doesn't apologize, or just shows a lack of regard for their friend. Now, for the person on the receiving end of that, they know that they don't treat that person that way. They wouldn't treat others that way. But yet, they keep somebody who treats them that way as a friend. How does that sit with that person? That feeling creates a conflict in an individual, and it can build up to be resentment. It can build up to create some sort of internal dialogue in your head where you're always arguing with yourself in your head. That, my dear friends, is cognitive dissonance. And it presents across a range of different settings. It can be in intimate relationships, it can be in friendships, it can be in job situations. You may work for an organization who ethically you don't agree with the things they do, but that person turns up every day for that job because they need the check. And there's a conflict that takes place in that person's world, in their internal world. And it creates a huge kind of tearing and a discomfort and a dis-ease. Physically, it can have a huge impact on someone's health. It can cause stress and anxiety, and stress and anxiety will then bring on other health ailments, aching joints, stomach pains, headaches, trouble sleeping, trouble eating, trouble focusing and concentrating. Cognitive dissonance is a very real thing. Many of the other things that I've discussed in my other videos, gaslighting, that will bring about cognitive dissonance because somebody is denying the reality of one person, but for that person whose reality is being denied, they may hold the person who's dishing that out to them in high regard. So they've got one version of what they think that person is, how they feel that person should be, but the reality is so different. They're treated less than. So trying to match where you feel that person is, what you think they are, but the reality is so different. They're at different places, and that gap in between is what you are trying to make sense of, the mental gymnastics that has to take place to fill this gap is a lot. It takes its toll. So toxic relationships brings about cognitive dissonance. The solution is for cognitive dissonance is to really take the time to hone in on that instinct that was telling you all along that something wasn't right. Those red flags that were overlooked, ignored, disregarded. Those red flags were the indicators to preventing cognitive dissonance, but down the line, it's happened. It's easy to look back and say, oh yeah, that weren't right. But at the time, in real time, it takes practice to be able to do something about the things that don't sit right with you. I think it does take some practice, and it takes boundaries, which is a subject I'll bring up another time. So the solution to when you are experiencing cognitive dissonance is to not deny it. Actually take some time out. Specifically, take some time away from the individual that's triggering that bringing it about. If you find you're having this conflict, this internal argument in your head in relation to one person, two people, a situation, whatever it is, you find yourself always ruminating over and over and over about something, someone. If you can give yourself distance, that will help you gather your thoughts better. It takes time to really know what the right thing to do. So I always encourage my clients to make notes, pen and paper notes, give yourself some space if you can from that person, and hone in on what it is that you need. What do you need from that person, and are you likely to ever get it from that person? Because if it's something like closure, that may be the very thing that individual's hanging on a stick, like a carrot on a stick. You may not get closure. You need to be realistic. Cognitive dissonance is maddening. If you take the time and tune yourself into your body, the chances are you are experiencing some physical discomfort. So that is what you need to listen to in relation to this situation where you're having that internal conflict. Your body's not lying, it's holding on to all that negative energy and dishing it out through pain in some way. The golden rule: treat people how you would like to be treated. This is like the cognitive dissonance grenade. Can you look at the situation you're in and say, that individual is treating me the way they would want to be treated. I am treating that person the way I would want to be treated. Can you apply the golden rule to the individual or the situation that's bringing about the level of cognitive dissonance that one may be experiencing? The strange kind of odd paradox to that is people have maladaptive ways of coping. People have toxic and unhealthy ways of coping. People tolerate things. Just because something's normal doesn't mean it's right. An individual may be able to put up with something and dish out all kind of funky behavior, and they themselves may be a little bit numb to it. But for another person in the dynamic, it hurts their feelings, it upsets them, it troubles them. So one person may be rolling along with another person who's got a really unhealthy, toxic, maladaptive way of handling stuff. And for another person, they may be a little bit further along the healthier spectrum. And it doesn't fit. You're a mismatch. And for one person, they're trying to adapt to this other person's unhealthy way of doing things. And it's just not sitting right, sweetheart. It just ain't working. It's also worth bearing in mind that for the, let's say for the lack of a better word, the victim of the other person's less than reasonable behavior, they themselves have to take responsibility for why they are in that situation. They may have unhealthy ways of managing things too, but it presents as looking healthy. It really requires a level of responsibility. Once you've become aware that something ain't right, something ain't sitting right, this could be cognitive dissonance. If you're the person who's had the light bulb moment, you have to sit down and take responsibility for finding yourself in that situation, what led to it, now what you're going to do about it, and are you willing to do that thing? For me, cognitive dissonance is like a sickening of the soul. It reaches soul level because it has connections to values, personal values. And your personal values are what shape your boundaries, and they're what shape how you see the world and how you believe you should be treated. And it's the mismatch that becomes so present in one person's awareness that it causes a lot of discomfort. So it can really feel like a soul attack. It has a link to integrity. Can you be honest with yourself and remove yourself from something, someone, a situation that actually gives short-term benefits, because it can give short-term instant gratification, but on a soul level, it's saddening, it's upsetting, and it doesn't sit right with your personal values. Your integrity meter. If you can create an integrity meter, put that in the situation that you're struggling with and see where it matches and where it doesn't match. Where it doesn't match, what do you need to do about it? What can you do about it? What are you willing to do about it? So yeah, cognitive dissonance, a sickening of the soul. So I'd like to share a personal example just to put some perspective on this. So, come on in. I found myself regularly at the end of the day, as the day had finished and I was at that point of the day's winding down, my routine for getting ready for bed, showering, getting in my pajamas, turning lights off, pottering about my home, sorting out what phone needs charging, charge that for the night, you know, your routine that you get into. And I was finding that during that moment, that winding down for the day moment, it was plagued with me openly arguing with myself about something I could have said. Why didn't I say that? If I'd said that, I would have done it like, let that happen again. I'ma say it like this. I was doing this for a long time. You may have had a similar experience. And it got to the point where it drained me wicked, like tired of this. I felt tired of it, drained by it. And it's just me, in the bit of the day where I should be enjoying, the day's done and I'm winding down. That's a very precious time of the day, but it's also a time where there's an opportunity to reflect. And in my reflective space, these intrusive thoughts were jumping in, and I was replaying and ruminating like a movie all the things that I could have, should have said in relation to this person. Why did they do that? Trying to analyze it, trying to think about it. It had anchored itself into my me time, which will then have a huge impact on self-care. And for me, that was an indicator that this is cognitive dissonance, Jackie. Face it, girl. You need to sort that out. And what I've learnt personally and professionally through client work is you pick your battles. Is it really going to be worth telling that individual or the situation you're in or the boss that you work for that is rubbing you up the wrong way about cognitive dissonance? Personally, as a battle, I would say I would more than likely choose retreat. Pull yourself away. Just remove yourself from the situation. There are going to be times where you need to be assertive, and those battles, those where those boundaries come in, and you assert yourself and you say, hey, enough, I'm not dealing with that anymore. Do you think telling the other person that they are triggering cognitive dissonance in you is going to stop them doing what they're doing? I doubt it. But what you would have done is let them know that they're getting to you. Respect. It really boils down to an issue of respect. So please like and subscribe, and check out my website, youmeWeTherapy.com.